Lovely, lovely day out here in New York City. Hope everyone's having a good day. It is about 5:10 p.m. Eastern Time. See, we're live on Periscope. I see we're live on YouTube. Let me just check it on my end real quick. It's always a little bit of a process here to make sure I'm live. Hold on one second. What will be, will be. Here we go. And I'm live. Look at that. Look at that. Busy news day. The media is freaking out because President Trump fired, or his lawyer left, and now they have a lawyer from the Clinton administration, or a lawyer that worked on Clinton's impeachment now is stepping in for President Trump, but not interested in covering that. Sorry. I'd rather cover things that do not get covered anywhere else. And definitely press the share button. Get this out to as many people as you can. YouTube's doing some interesting things these days. Not exactly notifying all subscribers when I'm live. So it takes a while to build up the audience. It's always funny, like, I'll be live for an hour, and all of a sudden, towards the end, I'll just see a flurry of subscribers tell me, oh, I didn't get notified, even though they've pressed notify me when you're live. So unfortunately, a lot of my subscribers are not getting notified. So I'll wait just a few minutes for a couple more people to hop on board. Allison said we do get the notifications though. You might, Allison, but I can't tell you. Follow the chat. You're going to see a lot of people say I didn't get notified. It's really annoying. It's very frustrating. It's not just happening with me. It's happening to other independent journalists. So one in particular I just did an interview with, actually, Mike from the Humanist Report. Mike Figueredo from the Humanist Report interviewed me the other day, so that should be up on his channel, hopefully this weekend. So I'm going to wait a few minutes because the first story I want to get into is definitely important. I want to make sure we have as many people as humanly possible here. So press the share button, get this out to more people. And also, if you haven't yet, go check me out. There's the sign, patreon.com/JordanSheridanReports. Let me know that you want to see real independent journalists. We are working actively. We are working very hard. See? Dizilla said, I didn't get a notice. I'm subscribed, but I just keep refreshing my list as often as possible. There you go. Put the time of your show on the sign. That's a very good idea, Dicelle. I will do that. So, patreon.com/JordanSheridanReports. Just put up my latest video diary exclusively for patrons. Gives you a little behind the scenes, what we're working on, what the obstacles are as we really work to launch Status Coup. We're trying to launch Status Coup, the media network that myself, my business partner, have been actively behind the scenes working on. The media network hopefully will be the beginning of the end of the corporate media. This media network that we're trying to get funding for will be myself, other reporters all over the country in the field. We're not looking to just sit at our desks and bloviate. We want to get out in the field and cover what the mainstream corporate media refuses to. So, let us know what you think. If you're ready for Status Coup, and if you are, make sure to go to the Patreon and help us make it happen. I need a travel budget, I need a camera person, and of course, we need to buy certain equipment. So, let me get started here, and definitely press the share button. If you were paying attention yesterday, I did a story. There is a protest going on, a very interesting protest in Virginia. And it's happening because they are basically, through eminent domain, basically stealing people's properties all over this country, digging up people's backyards, and they are basically putting pipelines through people's properties, seizing it. I actually interviewed in Texas while I was at the Young Turks, a rancher, a Republican rancher, that had his and her ranch being dug up their backyard to put a natural gas pipeline, the Trans-Pecos pipeline. Literally, an explosion of that pipeline would be 400 yards from their window. So this is happening all over the country, where these oil companies who buy off our politicians that are supposed to represent us, basically through that legalized bribery, get to do whatever the hell they want, and illegally through eminent domain get to seize people's properties. Eminent domain is really historically supposed to be like taking property to, you know, build elementary schools or interstate highways, things like that, not gas pipelines. But since we don't live in a democracy, we live in a legalized bribery system, that's what's going on. So yesterday, I told you about a story of a mother and a daughter who for weeks have been protesting atop their tree. They have trees on their property. It's their property. And they've been protesting. Basically, they made like a makeshift wooden house atop 2 different trees, and they are protesting so that those trees cannot get cut down. And if those trees cannot get cut down, then the natural gas pipeline, Mountain Valley Pipeline, cannot go through their land. So it's really an interesting pipeline protest. Obviously, the mother and the daughter are very passionate about their land and not this natural gas pipeline not going through. This is the Appalachian Trail where this pipeline is going through. So some of the most pristine nature and waterways that we have in this country. Let me read you a little bit about what's going on. Judge hears arguments for and against 2 pipeline protesters sitting in trees. This is the country we live in, right? 2 pipeline protesters stuck to their positions in trees atop Bent Mountain on Tuesday, while in the valley below them, lawyers went to a federal courthouse to argue their fate. Attorneys for the Mountain Valley Pipeline said the 61-year-old Teresa Red Terry and her daughter Teresa Minor Terry are blocking tree cutting for the natural gas pipeline and should be found in contempt of court. You're blocking us from putting our pipeline in there. You're blocking us from making our money. They cited an order from U.S. District Court Judge Elizabeth Dillon that gave Mountain Valley the power, through the laws of eminent domain, to run its pipeline through private land owned by the Terry family. Roanoke attorney Tom Bondurant, who represents the Terrys, flipped that argument around, asserting it was Mountain Valley that should be held in contempt for misrepresenting to the court key facts during an earlier hearing in the condemnation proceedings. After hearing several hours of testimony and arguments, Dillon said she will issue a written opinion as quickly as I can. So, that's what happened yesterday. Basically, they are allowed to protest on their own property for now. And let that sink in for a second. They're protesting by sitting up in trees on their property. This is their property. And by the way, it's historical property, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But they are, quote unquote, in contempt of court because they are sitting in trees atop their property. What happened, Republicans? What happened to, you know, our land rights and homeowners? Now, all of a sudden, if you protest them stealing your land to put planet-destroying natural gas pipelines through, you're in contempt of court? Well, interestingly enough, the pipeline company doesn't even legally have eminent domain yet for this. So I did 2 interviews earlier today with people who know the family, people who are involved in this. And by the way, this might seem like, who the hell cares about this woman protesting up in a tree? It's very important because they're doing this all over the country. They're cutting down forests. They're seizing people's backyards and their lands and their homes for natural gas and crude oil pipelines. So how can you say we live in land of the free if you're not free? Eminent domain is supposed to be for highways, for elementary schools, for things that help the United States. These pipelines are not helping the United States. They're helping big oil executives get richer. It's disgusting. So here we go. Let me show you part of my interview here, if I can find it. Oh, yeah, what happened here? Oh, yeah, of course. As soon as I want to go live, this is what happens. Hold on one second. I believe this was the mark I wanted to show you. So this is an interview with Beth. Beth is a friend of the family, and Beth spoke with me yesterday to give me an update on what's going on. Here you go.
Police give them for not, if they, technically want to invite an EMS or whomever onto their property, what is the legal reasoning the police are giving?
So the reason they're giving right now is that they're upholding a federal injunction by federal judge Elizabeth Dillon. Mm-hmm. And her decision was basically gave MVP quick take early access to property that they didn't own yet. Basically cited that they would eventually own the property through eminent domain process, but they don't own it. And there was a court case yesterday, which I'm sure you're aware of, and Judge Dillon hasn't given an opinion yet. And basically that was the crux of the case, which is they are on their own land. They are on their own land after MVP's self-imposed deadline of March 31st based on indigenous bat nesting habits. Mm-hmm. And now they're into this May 31st deadline of no cutting because of migratory bird nests. So, like right now we have, on that mountain, we have a large population of whippoorwills, which they're on the endangered species list. Mm-hmm. And you don't even have to be a scientist to know this. You can just hang out in the evenings and hear them calling every night, right beside the tree sits. And so that is the question at hand. The police and MVPs and the property owner's interpretation of the law is all different.
Right. And
only we don't have guns and they do. So.
But the court case.
So there you hear it. There you have it. The judge and the pipeline company is trying to say that they are in contempt of court because of eminent domain, but they don't actually, the pipeline company doesn't actually own the property yet. The eminent domain has not actually been decided. So it's plainly ridiculous that they are essentially trying to hold the mother and the daughter in contempt of court, when it's their property. Let me repeat, it's their property. And you want to know about the history of this property? Well, let me show you that. Hold on one second.
And can you talk about Terry? She's been up there with her, about her and, her, what's driving her to do this?
Well, you see that land, that property up there, I know she is very, very, very proud of the legacy. That land up there was a gift to General Andrew Lewis from General George Washington. When George Washington was still a general, he deeded the land to Andrew Lewis as a gift to reward him for his military service. And Andrew Lewis is a very important figure in Virginia history and American history. I-81 is called the Andrew Lewis Memorial Highway, so that kind of tells you its stature in our state's history. And so his heirs inherited all this land, and they sold it off. Then two men, one Joseph M. Terry, Joseph Motley Terry, and John Jeremy Coles, each bought up huge tracts of the Lewis lands. Then Coles married Terry's daughter, and they had a son, and he was a very, very, very decorated hero in the Civil War. And then he is the one who kind of started the idea of conserving the land. He inherited both the coal cemetery lands, and he was the one who did not sell it off. He kept it together, and then he bequeathed it to his daughter, with the character we call Aunt Grace, who was a very good writer, and she wrote histories about the family, and she actually wrote a beautiful description of the headwaters, the South Fork of the Roanoke River. Extraordinary piece of writing, and it's wonderful, old-fashioned, but very, very elegant prose, you know. But anyway, Aunt Grace bequeathed this land to the current Terry family members, who are the landowners in the Coles Terry Rural Historic District. And Red's husband's name is Coles Terry.
So there you go. Literally, this land that this greedy oil company, Mountain Valley Pipeline, whose parent company, let me give you the name of that, EQT. They are basically, through eminent domain, trying to take land that was given by General George Washington to General, I forget his name, but it's been passed down through generation to generation to generation. And you're trying to tell me that these two, a mother and a daughter who have been up there for weeks protesting, sitting atop two different trees, making sure they can't cut the trees down. They need to cut the trees down. Deforestation, by the way, is a big part of climate change. They're in contempt of court when the eminent domain process hasn't even been fully approved yet, so it's their land. What about homeowner rights? I thought Republicans and conservatives were all about homeowner rights. And don't you tread on my property. So, if you noticed yesterday what I was reporting on, they're not allowing food donations. They're not allowing that to go up to the mother and daughter. They're not even allowing suntan lotion to the younger daughter, but it's been very hot the last few days there, and she has very little protection above her. They're not allowing suntan lotion, not allowing medical supplies. They're not allowing doctors to come in and actually examine the mother and the daughter, who have been up there for weeks. And share this video. We need to get stories like this out that the corporate media will not touch. Frankly, independent media don't cover stories like this often. We need to cover it. We need to be the media we want to see. So let me play you a little bit more of my interview here. Very important, I think. Here's more of my interview with Beth, who's a friend of the family that's protesting.
Interesting. And can you kind of talk about, I'm doing the research, it looks like the majority of this pipeline, it's going for foreign exports rather than what they say of energy independence. Seems like nobody really knows where it's going, but it's not, the majority of it's not even for Virginia residents, West Virginia residents, or North Carolina residents.
Like 99.95% is going for export. I believe Dominion has a 0.05 stake that they were given by, and that's curious too. It's like it's called the MVP pipeline, and it's Mountain Valley Pipeline LLC, but it is a project of EQT out of Pennsylvania, and I think another partner too. I'm getting a little bit outside of my breadth of knowledge. You may have to talk to someone else for some of these exact things, but both the Mountain Valley Pipeline and the Atlantic Coast Pipeline are to transport fracked gas from West Virginia through Virginia for export.
Right.
And it's very hard to decipher that decipher that information. But that is, in fact, the facts.
Right. And obviously, without speaking to Red or her daughter or Terry, the husband, what is this something that they're environmentalists and they've always felt this way, or it's more the eminent domain aspect? What's driving them?
It's a little deeper than that. Their family has owned the property they're sitting on for 7 generations. So that takes that property back to the original King's grants from King Edward, England, before the United States was a country.
Mm-hmm.
So their family has passed this property down for 7 generations, and you literally need to just go there for 5 minutes to see that, because most of the property is untouched, forested land. They have a 200-year-old apple orchard that Red has worked her ass off to keep alive and to keep flourishing. And MVP just cut through that orchard 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
There are species in the wetlands that are hard to find thriving as they are up there. It's a very balanced ecosystem. So I wouldn't say they're environmentalists so much as they have been stewards of this land for 7 generations.
Right.
And they are just not going to willingly step aside, for someone to lay essentially a pipe bomb in the ground. And on their property alone, it crisscrosses a tier 3 stream several times. And within our region alone, this pipeline crisscrosses our source to our main water source, like the water sources that bring our county and our city water,
mm-hmm.
120 times. And I believe the number for the entire pipeline of 300 and some miles is 1,400 stream crossings.
Wow.
So, think about that. A 200-year apple orchard. They just cut down. 200-year apple orchard. They just cut down. 1,400 riverways this crosses. Interviewing both of these women, basically all of these streams and rivers and lakes, they all end up flowing into the Atlantic Ocean. That's the end destination. And basically, because the oil company has bought off the politicians, they are illegally taking, and eventually they're probably going to send up police to force these 2 women down that tree. To cut down the tree, which, again, they don't own the property. Eminent domain process has not concluded. It is still Red Terry and her husband's home, their land. So why is Governor Ralph Northam, who, by the way, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, you remember when the DNC and Tom Perez and the Democratic Party were rah, we got to elect a Democrat, the governor of Virginia, got to elect a Democrat. I didn't want the Republican to win, but I wasn't exactly doing, cheerleading for Ralph Northam, who's an establishment Democrat, and he's bought off. We had to get him. If we got him in there, we got to retake state houses all over the country. Well, Ralph Northam has the governor, who Tom Perez of the DNC poured money into that campaign. Guess what? That governor, he's allowing his police to deny medical supplies, deny food donations, deny sunscreen to the daughter who is burning up there without a lot to protect her atop that tree. Well, does Ralph Northam take money from the company, the parent company to Mountain Valley? Let's take a look. Oh, would you look at that? His 2017 campaign, EQT Corporation, 50,000 EQT Corporation gave to then candidate Ralph Northam. And EQT owns the pipeline. He also took basically 200,000 from Dominion Energy, which owns a stake in this pipeline. And Dominion Energy is the parent company of basically a sister pipeline, the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, going through Virginia. So, you've taken 200,000 from Dominion Energy, taken 50,000 from EQT. Apparently that's the amount. That's the amount it took to buy Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia, to let his police basically refuse humanitarian aid to protesters. I don't know. Tell me if I'm missing something, but don't we live in America? Don't we live in America? I thought we're allowed freedom of protest. I thought we're allowed freedom of speech. This mother and daughter are literally sitting up in a tree on their own property, protesting. Again, their property, because it has not been decided. Eminent domain has not occurred. And even if it did occur, that's a whole separate story, because the eminent domain process is BS. Opel says, thanks again, Tom Perez, you really know how to pick them. And again, this is why the lesser of two evils needs to stop. Okay, you put a gun to my head, did I want the Republican to win the governorship in Virginia? No, he was kind of, borrowing from Trump and wants to ban Muslims and all that stuff. But we can't keep choosing between would you rather be shot in the face with a Republican or slowly be poisoned with the Democrats, because that's really the choice we have in front of us. And press that share button. Press the share button. Get this story out to as many people as you want, as you can. I know that, I'm not talking Russia here. I know that I'm not talking Trump here. But I think I'm talking important things here. I think I'm talking very important things that you're not going to learn anywhere else. So please press the share button and share it, goddammit. You're right, Endo. Sorry to use the Lord's name in vain. At patreon.com. So as Jordan Sheridan reports, I'm itching to go out in the field. I would love to report from that forest right now. I would love to be interviewing these people in person. Hell, I would love to climb the tree and interview them, because these are important stories. This is about our country. This is about exposing environmental genocide. This is about exposing political corruption. This is about exposing, frankly, a growing fascist country. Let me play you how many waterways are affected by this pipeline.
Water that starts as, it's seeps, little seeps coming out of the ground on the side of Bull Mountain. It flows to those seeps they flow southward to form Bottom Creek, which is the Tier 3 stream that is going to be decimated. And then it flows, and Bottom Creek flows south and west, becoming the South Fork of the Roanoke River. And then as the South Fork, it flows north for 10.5 miles. And it joins up with the North Fork of the Roanoke River in Montgomery County. And just after that joint, where the North and South Forks join up, the water is withdrawn for public use at a place called Spring Hollow Reservoir. And then after it's pulled there, and by the way, the pipeline crosses just upstream of the public water intake at Spring Hollow Reservoir. And it doesn't matter who protests that or submits public comment. There isn't anyone with the wherewithal to stop it, you see. Mm-hmm. And I can talk about then after the withdrawal at Spring Hollow Reservoir, it continues as the Roanoke River. It forms Smith Mountain Lake, Leesville Lake, and then it joins with the Dan River and forms something called that's Kerr Reservoir. Then it continues east and south. It forms Lake Gaston and Roanoke Rapids Lake. And the Roanoke River National Wildlife Refuge in North Carolina. And the Blue Hole Swamp. And then it finally goes through this huge flatland called the Roanoke River National Wildlife Refuge. and then flows into Albemarle Sound and then the Atlantic Ocean.
And here is just one example of what will happen if that pipeline explodes. Here you go. As that tweet says, this pristine water is just a few yards from where they are going to put this nightmare pipeline. Stand with Red knows water is life. She's protecting Virginia water. Please shine a light and call Governor of Virginia. No MVP. That would be the Mountain Valley Pipeline. And if you want to follow them, it's at Stand with Red on Twitter. And I just want to read you a quote from Red Terry. She is the mother that's been up in the tree for weeks. Quote, MVP has not only bought a lot of politicians and our judge, but also our police force, Red said. MVP is allowed to tell our cops what to do and what not to do. I don't think a cop who is allowed to think on their own would have denied me the cigarettes that are down there and my BC powders for headaches, which are down there. They're not allowed to bring me anything up here. I think that it sounds a lot like Hitler and his army. Only let's substitute MVP, Mountain Valley Pipeline. MVD is what I like to call them, Mountain Valley Dicks, because they are really screwing with everybody's property, everybody's faith, everybody's water. Wow. I mean, that's powerful. I'm dying to interview her. These are American heroes. This is an American hero because she's actually fighting for what America is supposed to stand for. America, before the corporations got to it, before the legalized bribery was allowed, is one of the most beautiful countries on earth. We have some of the most beautiful waterways on earth. We have some of the most beautiful natural historical sites on earth. But the bottom line is, the corporations do not care. As she said it, the corporations do not care. MVP has not only bought a lot of politicians and our judge, but also our police force. And I want to end playing you this part, which I thought was astounding. This is, again, from an interview I had with a family friend. This time, her name is Anne.
So the state of Virginia granted their property, the part of the property that the pipeline would be going through as a historically, a historic site that could not be worked on, but FERC is essentially ignoring that and allowing the pipeline to go through anyway.
Yeah, you see, what we're working under is the overarching legal umbrella is National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, N-E-P-A, and that requires that federal agencies that are in charge of licensing or funding these large-scale federally licensed funded projects do an assessment of environmental impact and also an assessment of alternatives to the proposed project. And so FERC has been doing that. That process began back in 2015, and what we're finding out is that FERC and the subcontractors, I'll back up. Much of the assessment of impacts and alternatives required by National Environmental Policy Act has been conducted by the company itself.
Oh.
And FERC is legally permitted to allow that to happen. So the company then forms contracts with other firms to conduct the assessment of impacts and alternatives. So that's how it's pretty much been done. And so the company then reports to FERC on its reporting, and it's really what it is the company is checking off boxes.
So
so everything will be all right. You know, to find out if there's going to be any environmental problems, any environmental risk, we'll just have the oil company do the study, right? We'll just have the oil company do it. Because that will be legitimate, and that has credibility. Just like for the Dakota Access Pipeline, the oil company hired a independent contractor to do an environmental assessment, and gee gosh jolly Jim, the environmental assessment done by the company hired by Energy Transfer Partners found, no, there's no risk. There's no risk to the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. There's no risk to the Missouri River. There's no risk to the 20 million people downstream. It's all fine. It's truly, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you would think happens like in a mafia movie. This kind of open, transparent, legalized, I mean, bribery. What do you call this? You have the governor of the state, a Democrat, who Tom Perez, you know, pom-poms, the DNC were all behind. Go through your fundraising emails from the DNC. Had to give Ralph North the money. He's bought off by the energy companies. He's basically telling his police, do not allow the mother or the daughter protesting in the tree any aid. Any aid. And a judge, because judges get donations too, a judge is deciding whether the mother and the daughter are in contempt of court because they're protesting on their property, but the prior judge basically fast-tracked eminent domain to give the oil company the property. The process isn't even done. They don't officially own the land, the oil company. But a judge said, well, we're just going to kind of like fast-track it as if eminent domain already went through. So that judge is bought off. So you got a bought-off governor, you got a bought-off judge, bought-off police department. My business partner, Jen, I'm sure the resistance is paying attention to all this. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting flooded with emails from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Tom Perez about this very protest. Aren't you getting a lot of emails about it? And why this is important, it's not about one pipeline or one family's property. It's about our country. It's about our planet. Because this kind of stuff is happening all over the country. And there's no attention on it. Honestly, I don't say this to shower myself, but would you even know about this? Would you even know about this if you weren't watching this channel right now? Probably not. Unleash the Green. How did we get to this place? It started about the 1970s, but I don't have 7 hours to describe how this country, the auction began of legalized bribery. This is near Roanoke, Virginia. And if I look like I'm hot and bothered, I am pissed off about this, but god damn it, it's hot. I have these lights to make myself look more lit for the masses, and they are hot. It is hot. So, I will keep you updated on this story. I'm trying to get an interview with the husband of the mother and daughter, the husband and father of the mother and daughter that are protesting. As of now, they are still up in the trees. This is in the Roanoke area of Virginia, right near Bent Mountain, I believe is. Let me make sure I have that right. Yes. Yes, Bent Mountain. Their property is right in trees atop Bent Mountain. So definitely share this video, share this live stream, get this out to more people. I think this mother and daughter are American heroes, and I think we need to get their story out there because it's not just our water, it's not just our planet, it's our humanity. It's our dignity as Americans. What kind of country is this? Is this a country for oligarchs and plutocrats, or is this our country? Moving on from one example of bribery, democratic establishment debauchery, yes, to another. You know, folks, I hate to have to keep reporting on Hillary Clinton. Well, I don't really hate it. It gives me joy in some ways. But she won't go away, and her pathetic advisors who helped run the most pathetic presidential campaign in American history, they're at it again. They're at it again. You know, Hillary, why can't she just go off and take a hike in the woods like she's done? You know, the photo ops with Hillary walking in the woods. I don't wish you anything bad to happen to you, Miss Clinton, but go off into the woods. Tell your advisors, go off in the woods. Usually when you lose to a reality TV star, used car salesman, you go away. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. So let's show you here a tweet from Philip Raines. Philip Raines was Hillary Clinton's top advisor, kind of known as an abrasive jerk-off in Hillary Clinton's debate prep. He played Donald Trump. You know how the candidates in debate prep, they have somebody else play the candidate they're going to be debating. Philip Raines played Donald Trump. Well, here's his tweet. In response to Bernie Sanders saying, you know what Amazon paid in federal income taxes last year? 0. Philip Raines said, you know what Senator Sanders paid in federal income taxes last year? Hypocrite. Hypocrite. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So, you know, these Hillbots who cannot stand progressives. They can't stand progressives. They can't stand Medicare for all. They can't stand ending private prisons. They can't stand free public college. They can't stand, you know, raising capital gains taxes, taxing the wealthy a lot more. They can't stand it because they're not really Democrats. They're Republican light. They're Republicans. Yeah, maybe they don't want to ban Muslims. Maybe they're not so, you know, anti-immigrant. So they're better on that. Congrats. But economically, they are Republican as Jeb Bush. They're Republican as George W. Bush. And they won't go away. They won't go away. So, what's he trying? What is he even insinuating? Bernie Sanders is not paying federal taxes? Or Bernie Sanders is trying to hide his taxes? I don't even understand. Because it wasn't hard for me to find. Here you go. Sanders' tax return, as boring as promised. Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders released his 2014 tax returns Friday night, showing that he paid $27,653 in federal taxes on adjusted gross income of $205,271. That's his salary as a senator. The Vermont senator pledged to release the filings during the Democratic debate on Thursday night after sparring with Hillary Clinton over financial disclosure issues. The majority of Sanders' earnings came from his $174,000 salary as a U.S. senator, as well as Social Security benefits. The returns, filed jointly with his wife Jane, were just as, quote, boring and straightforward as Sanders repeatedly said they would be, particularly compared to those of Hillary Clinton, his multimillionaire opponent for the nomination. After tax payments of $31,825, Sanders collected a $4,172 refund. They donated $8,350 to charity. Wow. What a hypocrite that Bernie Sanders is, donating $8,000 to charity. What a hypocrite. Right? He's hiding something. Not only are they they're professional smear artists, but they're not even doing their homework anymore. He's trying to toss out Bernie Sanders is a hypocrite compared to Jeff Bezos and Amazon, who are literally paying nothing in federal taxes without even Googling. Like, all I did was literally Bernie Sanders tax returns, and that's the first story that came up. They can't stand it. I mean, yeah, he makes $174,000 in salary. Like, he paid $27,000. You want to know something? It's a lot more than Mitt Romney used to pay on his capital gains. Certainly a lot more than Donald Trump ever paid. Guarantee you, as a percentage, it's definitely more than Hillary or Bill Clinton ever paid. And I don't know. It's not like Bernie Sanders is a multimillionaire, to my knowledge. So giving over $8,000 to charity, I don't know, that's pretty generous, don't you say? Got a $4,000 tax return, gave over $8,000 to charity. Endo, when is Jordan's America tour? As soon as we fund me through patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. We can't have it all, folks. I'd like to get out there. I'd like to get in the field. I talked about that today on my patron-only video diary, where I talk about I have cabin fever. I want to get out there. But I need the funds. I need the funding to get a camera person. That's first order of business. Got to hire a camera person. The person I have in mind, I think you will like. I'll leave it at that. I think you'll like this person. You might even know the person. Too much? You might know the person I have in mind to hire as a camera person. We got to hire equipment so we can go live. We need a travel budget so we don't just get out there once and not have the money. So if you're not subscribed yet to patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, obviously, if you're having financial struggles and you don't know if you're going to pay your rent this month or you can't put food on the table, I understand, keep your money. But if you have a couple bucks, $1 a month, $1 a month, $3 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, you can help create status quo and the media revolution. We're not calling it a media revolution so we can put bumper stickers on cars. We're talking real media revolution, real reporters all over the country. Hanging out by the trees when protests are going on, bringing you up front at these pipelines, cases of police brutality, cases of water contamination, cases of corruption. That's what we want to do here. So definitely, if you can, definitely contribute. Either to my reporting Patreon, patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports, or my book, which we just released, Chapter 8, on my lovely, lovely night interviewing Hillary Clinton voters the night she lost. We need to create the media we want to see in the country, period. So, Philip Brains, Hillary Clinton's, very abrasive, aggressive advisor, who then, like in that Twitter thread, first he wrote this ridiculous tweet calling out Bernie Sanders, I guess, for not paying taxes, even though it was easy to find. He's paid a good amount in taxes. And then he started attacking people who spelled words wrong, correcting their spelling. Like, that's when you know you've lost the argument, when that's all you have. When you spelled the word wrong. Philip Brains needs to go home. Jennifer Palmieri needs to go home. John Podesta needs to go home. Neera Tanden needs to get the hell out of the country, if you ask me. And that's not about immigration. I just don't like her. It's being clear. I can't take it anymore with these. Sometimes in life, when you've lost, you gracefully exit. It's not like if a baseball team loses the World Series, they refuse to, leave the field, where the winning team, has a parade and celebrates, but they won't gracefully exit. They keep attacking progressives. They keep attacking Bernie Sanders, and I guarantee you, they are going to be backing Kamala Harris. 120%, mark my words. All of the Clinton people will be backing Kamala Harris. She's a woman, she's a minority, and they will attack anyone who criticizes her as racist or sexist, or both. So get ready for it. Moving on to one more story about my friend Hillary Clinton. If you didn't know, The Intercept, my friend Walker Bragman, they came out with a good story, I believe it was last week, that essentially Hillary Clinton is charging the DNC a lot of money for access to her voter database and her email list. So they wanted it for free from Bernie Sanders, right? Give us your emails. You want to be a Democrat? Give us your emails so we can bother your progressive voters who would rather give money, would rather give money to an ice cream truck than an establishment Democrat. Bad analogy, but you get my point. Well, Hillary Clinton charging the Democratic Party for her email list. And I thought this was a very interesting tweet by The Intercept's Ryan Grimm, because it seems like something borderline shady is going on here. Here you go. Here's one thing I don't get, Grimm said. The Clinton campaign had a joint fundraising agreement with the DNC and state parties in which the money flowed through the DNC. So legally, the DNC built the list that Clinton turned around and sold to the DNC, right? Well, what he left out there is the whole DNC Hillary Victory Fund, where the money, it allowed donors to give money. It was supposed to go to the state parties all across the country, the state Democratic parties, but oddly, it ended up going into Hillary Clinton's campaign, which, if you look up the definition of money laundering, that's money laundering. So he's right, though, because the DNC, Hillary Clinton had a joint fundraising agreement, so why does the DNC have to purchase her email list? The Clintons, they'll never do anything for free. Never do anything for free. Always got to make money. They're multimillionaires 10 times over, but you're not getting our email list or our voter. Wait, if they really want the Democratic Party to succeed, if they really want Donald Trump to be voted out of office and an establishment Democrat to become president, you're going to charge the, at one point, near bankrupt Democratic National Committee? So now some Democrats, they want her to return that money. Some Democrats want Hillary Clinton to return the DNC's money. The National Party agreed to pay $1.65 million. $1.65 million for her campaign email list and other resources. Are you kidding me? The DNC, who was nearly broke like 15 minutes ago, they're charging $1.65 million, the Clintons are, to the DNC. Several Democratic officials are asking Hillary Clinton to return the money that the Democratic National Committee paid her political group for her campaign email list and other resources. In February 2017, the DNC agreed to pay Clinton's group Onward Together $1.65 million for her campaign email list, analytics, donor data, and related items, The Intercept reported on Wednesday. The cache of material was worth more than $5 million. Clinton's campaign made an in-kind donation of resources worth $3.5 million, and the DNC paid for the rest. Oh, how kind of you to give us a discount. How kind for Hillary Clinton to give the DNC a discount. Now a number of Democratic Party officials, including some state party chairs and DNC members, want Clinton to retroactively donate the campaign materials to the DNC and return the money that the party organ gave Onward Together. By the way, Onward Together is just the latest super PAC of Hillary Clinton. Since she lost, it's now Onward Together. It's just another way for them to support bought-off candidates and put their thumb on the scale of state races and federal races. Because the Clintons, they're not about doing what's right for the party or the country. They're about unfettered power, and they will not give it up. They will not give it up until you take it from them. Quote, she should return the money for the love of the Democratic Party to the DNC for its use, said Alabama Democratic Party Chairwoman Nancy Worley, who supported Clinton during the 2016 primary. Wisconsin Democratic Party Chairwoman Martha Lanning and Missouri Democratic National Committee man Curtis Wild likewise called on her to retroactively donate it and return the payment. And Nebraska Democratic Party Chairwoman Jane Kleeb, who supported Bernie Sanders in the 2016 primary, argued that Clinton could also contribute the equivalent money to state Democratic parties. What a thought. Other DNC officials, including at-large member Brian Wabi and Kansas Democratic National Committee Chris Reeves, welcomed an in-kind donation but stopped short of asking for it. It would be a Christian thing to do, Wabi said. And we know the Clintons are very, very adamant religious Christians, of course. Sanders' office did not return a request for comment on whether the senator agrees. Nick Merrill, a Clinton spokesman, defended the price tag on Thursday on the grounds that the DNC has already reaped far more than it paid for the email list in fundraising so far. Quote, paying a rental fee for use of an email list is common practice, and in this case, the DNC has raised over $30 million with it, an 1,800% return on their investment, Merrill wrote in an email to Fox News. Merrill didn't respond to Huffington Post's request for comment. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Ochidi Hinojo, a DNC spokesperson, agreed that the DNC has gotten a return on our investment and more since obtaining all of the lists and data. Oh my God, you people are so fucking stupid. I cannot handle how stupid these people are. A return on their investment. This isn't Wall Street. This isn't like a Wall Street trade on the stock market here. So basically, let's get this straight. I doubt many of you in the viewing audience here donated money to the Democratic National Committee, but let's say you did. It seems that you were possibly donating money to be paid to Hillary Clinton. Do you see how that works? People who donated to the DNC thinking they're donating to candidates, campaigns, causes, whatever. Well, $1.65 million doesn't just come out of the ground. So many people might be thinking they're donating for candidates or causes or whatever, and it's just going to fatten Hillary Clinton's pocket. And by the way, as Ryan Grimm said, it's not really Hillary Clinton's property. Here's one thing I don't get. The Clinton campaign had a joint fundraising agreement with the DNC and state parties in which the money flowed through the DNC. So legally, the DNC built the list that Clinton turned around and sold to the DNC. Right? Yeah, it is right. But in the Clinton world, no, that's our money. We're giving you a friendly discount for the rental fee. I mean, you can't make it up. Can't make it up. The greed and the corruption have no bounds with these people. And it's not just Hillary Clinton, because the same mentality is Nancy Pelosi. The same mentality is Chuck Schumer. The same mentality is Steny Hoyer, who was caught on audio that The Intercept reported and exposed last week, basically trying to muscle a progressive candidate out of a race in Colorado, saying the party had decided long ago to go with the more centrist, Wall Street-friendly candidate. So, let's keep being the party of Hillary Clinton here and expect different results. Let's be the party of Hillary Clinton, and all we stand for is Trump, 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 anti-Trump. We'll retake the House. Yeah. Can't make it up. Instead of frolicking into the woods with her already, multi-millionaire is an understatement, the Clintons. She's got to make just a few more dollars. And I don't care. If the DNC wants to waste its money, that's fine. But the problem is, it's this mentality and this greed and this, adoration and total fidelity to money that has strangled the Democratic Party and helped neoliberalism really rule the land in this country for 20 years. But this is the party of the working people, of course. I got one more story for you. One more story for you. So, I don't know if you follow here, but Facebook changed its algorithm. I think they changed it last year to basically, in totality, they were going to basically decrease the amount that news stories, and news outlets were shown in your feeds. So they were going down from about 5% to 4% that you'd see news stories and news outlets. But they decided of the news stories and news outlets they were going to show, they were going to elevate the most trustworthy news sources. The most trustworthy news sources. And who decides what the most trustworthy news sources are? Well, let's take a look here. Let's take a look. Mark Zuckerberg, who's been under fire recently. Here we go. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg said Tuesday that the company has already begun to implement a system that ranks news organizations based on trustworthiness and promotes or suppresses its content based on the metric. Oh, that's nice that Facebook's finally admitting they're suppressing content. How democratic. Zuckerberg said the company has gathered data on how consumers perceive brands by asking them to identify whether they have heard of various publications and if they trust them. Quote, "We put that data into the system and it is acting as a boost or a suppression, and we're going to dial up the intensity of that over time," he said. "We feel like we have a responsibility to further break down polarization and find common ground." Zuckerberg met with a group of news media executives at the Rosewood Sand Hill Hotel in Menlo Park after delivering his keynote speech. And of course, the meeting included representatives from BuzzFeed, The Information, Quartz, The New York Times, CNN, The Wall Street Journal, NBC, Recode, Univision, Barron's, The Daily Beast, The Economist, HuffPost, Insider, The Atlantic, The New York Post, and others. That is a murderer's row of establishment legacy news outlets right there. The event, called OTR, shorthand for Off the Record, is an annual gathering meant for new media executives to talk shop. Zuckerberg said the company will invest billions of dollars in a combination of artificial intelligence and tens of thousands of human moderators to keep both fake news and deliberate propaganda at bay, especially in elections. Quote, "We're essentially going to be losing money on doing political ads," he said, of the investment company is making to avoid a repeat of the spread of Russian propaganda. Quote, "The big miss is we didn't expect these kinds of coordinated information operations in 2016, and that the company was more focused on hacking in malware." So I don't even know where to start with this. I don't even know where to start. First of all, so Facebook is basically going to have its users rank who the trustworthy news is and who isn't. So Facebook users are going to be nominating who's trustworthy and who's not. And it seems that the criteria is, hold on. Zuckerberg said the company has gathered data on how consumers perceive news brands by asking them to identify whether they have heard of various publications and if they trust them. Oh, so basically, the criteria Facebook is using is essentially name brand news organizations like CNN, like the New York Times, like the Washington Post, like the Associated Press, like the Daily Beast, like BuzzFeed, and on and on and on. So that is the criteria. Well, let me ask you a question, Mark Zuckerberg. Let's say the shoe were on the other foot. Let's say social media was a much, much bigger thing back when you wanted to launch Facebook, right? Let's say, there was problems with social media outlets, allowing fake news and these things back in 2004 when you launched Facebook. And in order to block out these bad social media platforms that are letting users abuse it, well, users were allowed to rank what are the trustworthy social media outlets. And surveys were done where they asked users, have you heard of this social media outlet? And what do you think? Well, if Facebook was just starting out there, how would Facebook even get off the ground? If the whole basis on ranking your most trusted news outlets was based on familiarity with that news outlet, or in the case I just created, social media platform. This is not about ranking trustworthy news outlets. This is about elevating establishment, legacy, corporate media that is known, and making sure independent media or freelancers who just starting out never have their content seen. That is exactly what this is for. Make no mistake about it. And they've been doing it to me, like my Facebook posts and videos used to get a lot more likes and views. Now I'll be lucky if you get like 100 views on a video because people simply don't see it. It doesn't show up in their feeds. Same thing on YouTube. For the 12,300 YouTube subscribers I have, I should be closer to 150 to 200 live viewers. But I'm getting anywhere between, 75 to 100 on any given day because they're not actually putting the videos in the feed. They're not actually delivering the videos to subscribers. They're not actually notifying people that sign up for notifications. This is all a grand censorship program. And do you know one of the components that leads to fascism? Censorship. And what if an individual like me and Jen, my business partner, want to launch a new media company? And we refuse to launch that new media company attached to corporate money. And we refuse to launch that media company getting sponsorships from banks or fossil fuel companies or big pharma or any of that. And part of launching a new media company is getting those numbers up as high as you can and building a subscription service, which Patreon is. Well, it's a lot harder to do that, right? If you're not trustworthy, like the New York Times. Like if you're not ranked as trustworthy, like the Washington Post. You know how trustworthy the New York Times is, who pretty much was instrumental in passing along and fomenting a a real war based on fake intelligence. They're so trustworthy, the New York Times. Washington Post, same thing with the Iraq War. Washington Post, so trustworthy, reporting that Russia hacked the Vermont electricity grid, never even doing a retraction when that story was proven to be completely bogus. BuzzFeed, who literally published a Trump whatever dossier, just openly saying we haven't verified any of this. Trustworthy. I'm not doing this video, I'm not reporting on Facebook only because it affects me. It's not about only me. It's about independent, non-corporate journalism in totality. Perfect example of this report. Duder says, what the heck, I didn't get a message that you were alive. You want to know why, Duder? Love that name. Because they don't want me or Jimmy or Kyle Kalinske or Mike from the Humanist Report or Jamarl Thomas or Lee Camp. They don't want us to be visible to the general public because they're threatened by real news. They don't want us to wake up the masses. They don't want us to be an option for people to watch or fund. But how do you get a media company off the ground, right? If people aren't seeing your videos, if people are being unsubscribed when they didn't unsubscribe, when people click note for notifications, they don't get it. If people don't see any of your content on Facebook because it doesn't show up in their feeds, it's not just censorship. It's the corporate takeover of not just media, but our society. A big part of journalism and media is how society thinks, how society acts. Think, be, for you type, succinct, shareable videos. Sorry, I'm not Now This News. I'm never going to be doing 2.5-minute videos. It's not my style. But we do cut down these live streams into shorter videos. So if you don't like the longer explanation, no problem. But I'm not going to condense myself to meet the standards of the ADD digital viewer. No offense to the ADD digital viewer. So, now this, don't even get me started. So, if you want shareable, little bite-sized videos, I'm not your guy. Sorry. But we do have short videos. Go to the channel after this. You can watch videos. I mean, we have videos, some of them are 20 minutes, some of them are 5 minutes, some of them are 12 minutes. But the point is, forget me, how are the journalists of the future supposed to start if nobody could see their reports on Facebook, if nobody could see their channels on YouTube? People should sink or swim based on their content. People should sink or swim based on their popularity. People should sink or swim based on the demand for their content. On the merits. If I'm out there versus other people, we should have the same opportunity to be seen and heard. Because that is kind of what YouTube means, right? It's about you and me and us. That is what Facebook is supposed to be. They call it the democratization of the world. Well, it's not democracy when you're picking winners and losers. And by the way, I don't even believe Facebook when they say the viewers are ranked, the users are ranking people. Get the hell out of here. Their users aren't ranking news. It's Facebook that's ranking the news. There are human moderators that are basically deciding and picking winners and losers. And you want to know something? These kind of things have life and death consequences. Life and death consequences. So let me explain. When I was at Standing Rock, when I worked at the Young Turks, I was at Standing Rock 7 times, right? This didn't happen yet. YouTube wasn't yet screwing around with its algorithm and screwing people like me, and Facebook hadn't changed its algorithm yet. So I was fortunate enough to be visible and seen by hundreds of thousands of people. In totality, those videos and those live streams were seen by hundreds of thousands of people on TYT's channel, TYT Politics. Well, I've had Native Americans come up to me multiple times saying, you and your reporting saved lives. And I thought, what do you mean save lives? Without the cameras, they said, not me, without the cameras and the attention on these protests, these demonstrations, police probably would have started shooting real bullets, but they knew they were being watched by the world. And not just my cameras, the other independent media that were there, and the documentary filmmakers that were there. But what happens when the next Standing Rock happens, or the next Flint, unfortunately, which is going to happen, or the next protest with police brutality that corporate media doesn't cover because Russia or Trump isn't involved? What happens when reporters like me or people I want to hire are live, but we're not seen because you don't know we're live? What happens when the cameras capturing people getting killed or people being poisoned or police brutalizing people if we don't get seen? This has real life or death consequences. That's why we are trying desperately to launch Status Coup. It's our media network. We're hoping to get funding and get this thing launched as soon as we can. Not gonna sugarcoat you. It's slow. We haven't gotten the funding we need yet. We're working at it. But your contributions to my Patreon help. Your contributions to the Patreon are going to help us get out there. Going to help us go for bigger funding. To say, hey, we already have X amount of patrons. We already have X amount of revenue from that Patreon. Imagine what could happen if we had enough money to actually get out there with a camera person and equipment. We are building a website too, so that when we are launched, we bring people to the website rather than depending on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all these places that are deciding which news is trustworthy and which news isn't. Yeah, I'll give you trustworthy. Give you a nice kick in the ass. It's right there in the chat, patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you are subscribed and you got a little bit extra, do it. I say what I mean and I do what I say. The money will be spent on what I'm saying it's for. I just need the funding. You got Colin Tooley in the chat right now. He's been editing the videos for 2-3 months now. for not a lot of money. You got Jen, my business partner, working 7 days a week for not a lot of money. So if you could fund us, great. If not, share these videos, post separate posts on social media about my channel. I'm now on Instagram, instagram.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. If you want Trump 24/7, if you want Russia 24/7, there's plenty of places you can get that. It's not here. If you want real coverage of the Democratic corruption, if you want real coverage of water contamination, if you want real coverage of climate change, if you want real coverage of police brutality, I'm your guy, and I'm going to be bringing on quite a lot of other guys and gals. As you've seen over the last few weeks, we have a guest reporter, independent journalist. Teresa Joy has been on the channel, and I will keep her on the channel. She's got a lot of talent. She's just getting started on this channel. We're going to have other people try to introduce you to other voices, because we need more than me and my poorly lit face. What if Trump kills Robert Mueller? I mean, don't you start rumors. I hope that doesn't happen, but I would cover that. Can't really ignore that. But here's my message to Facebook, and YouTube's not going to like this because you're not allowed to curse. Fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg, and fuck you, Facebook. Because you are not king. You are not kings. And you don't get to decide what's trustworthy and what's not. All right, if you want to actually have real moderators to erase fake news, and when I say fake news, I mean fake news, fake articles, fake stories, provably false stuff. Good, you should have that. But you don't get to decide and basically prop up your pals at CNN and the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Associated Press while suppressing Jimmy Dore, suppressing my channel, suppressing Mike Figueredo. So that's what I think of Facebook. That's what I think of suppression. And we'll have a lot more to say about this, including our friends at YouTube. Thank you for watching. Share this video. As always, follow me at Jordan Chariton on the Twitter, Instagram.com/Jordan Chariton Reports, Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. Help me launch the media revolution. Have a good day.